I think we'll just kick off. Thank you, everybody, for joining our live session. So it's great to have you all here today. So thank you once again. So as perhaps all of you or some of you know today's topic is about knowing your strengths. Um, so in today's session, you learn how to unlock your hidden potential and potential to feel more confident every day, gain clarity and motivation to take charge of your life and work, step into your strengths and show up as your best self. So that's today's topic. So the flow of the session is, I guess, pretty much the same as previous sessions. And I think there are new faces here, just to those who are just joining us for the first time. So we usually start with a quick introduction, just like how we did. And in most of our sessions, we have guest appearances, and we'll have a little conversation with our guests. And then we move on to our breakout sessions where we have a question to discuss depending on the number of participants we have in the sessions. We usually try to have about five to six people in a room, so everybody gets a chance to share and discuss. In the session, we come back, we reflect on it, and basically then, flows just everybody. We just, again, it's very, very interactive, nothing formal, nothing. This platform is for our members, for everybody here. So feel free to just put your hand up and jump in. If you have any questions and all that, right? So we do, again, the session runs for an hour, so we do have to keep an eye on the time because there's quite a bit to get through. But otherwise, we everyone's welcome to just ask any questions, make any comments, or yeah, by all means, feel free to do that. Yeah. So thanks once again. So just quickly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So just quickly, I guess I keep on forgetting because we've been through a few sessions, the quick introduction. So this strength-based community group, leadership group, basically OAM, myself, and we've got Novi here as well. She's based in Philippines. He does all the, behind the scenes sort of work, all the technical, all the invites that you get, all the spam emails that you guys get. That's all from her. So she does all of that thing for us. Very, 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 very grateful for her for doing all that for us. So we've been running this for what? Uh, since
Since
August
August.
last year.
Yeah,
So
last
been a
year.
few
So
months
yeah.
now. So it's been going great, growing, and we've been getting a lot of great feedback. So yeah, from everybody. So thanks again for that. And so I think most of you all know Omdai, so he can do a bit of introduction later if needs be. But about myself, I am what am I? So I'm an IT executive for several years. I've been in IT. So I'm currently running our businesses in different fields. I'm also a certified life coach. Yeah, and so now I'm getting involved into more of this community building and all that. So I'm basically working with Dhungel and because that's where my passion is, and that's I'm very excited to be in this journey alongside Omdai. So yeah, just that's a little bit about myself. So, I think with like every session, we'd like to begin by taking a quick pause just to arrive fully in this space. So, and we take for you just a quick mindfulness session just to make sure that we are fully present in the moment. Yeah. So, if I can invite everybody to just wherever you are, doesn't matter if it feels comfortable, close your eyes. If it doesn't, that's okay. But just take a moment to take few deep breaths through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. So let's just do that quickly. And however way you feel comfortable, let's do that. And we come back and we'll kick off the session. Yeah? Cool. All right, so let's just do that. So if it feels comfortable, close your eyes, like I said, and just take a deep, about 3 or 4 deep breaths. Okay, if you're ready,
Thank you.
just come back. Yeah, thanks everyone. Okay, so I guess before we move on, there was an action that that we had from our previous session. So I'd like to pause and come back to that action we reflected on from our last session. So we invited everyone to take one small step, which is around what is one way you can use your lived experience, not expertise or authority, to support or uplift someone else. So I understand there are some people here that did not attend our session last week. So it's okay, whatever action that you may have taken, if you'd like to share in the last few weeks or recently, please, by all means, I would like to invite you to please share your experience if anybody would like to do that. I mean, otherwise, I'm gonna have to start picking. Um,
Just to be clear, I think the question was about how did you use your lived experience?
yeah,
Lead,
to
yeah,
uplift or
uplift, yes,
someone else.
yeah.
So it could be anything. I mean, it doesn't have to
Mm,
be anyone, or even in the family or your
yes.
kids, or any action that you would have taken to uplift someone else, if there has been.
Mm. And I'm sure there'll be so many. So please feel free to share because like this will uplift someone in the room now. So it's not like you may think that it's very simple. I do this all the time. Yeah, that's what
Mm.
needs to come out. So please feel free to share something that you have done to uplift somebody using your own lived experience.
Hello everyone, it's me Obed from Tasmania, and well, I'm gonna share
Hello.
my
Hi.
experience. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
Oh
can
yeah, that's
hear you
cool then.
clearly.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for giving this wonderful platform. And if I have to share my experience, last week, one of the lady from our community, she's a single woman, and uh, the good news about her is like she got a citizens, and
Mm.
also in that uh, achievement, I always encourage, and also I help her to take in the citizen class.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's really
That's
proud moment for her and her family as well.
Mm.
And in additionally, we are running the dance class over here. So she's one of our teacher, and she's not confident, when we start the dance class, but gradually she, improve her confidence, and also she believe that she can do if someone, help
mm.
give a, positive energy, and that's how I uplift her. Thank you.
Sure. That's amazing.
Wow. And if anybody is looking for a young person to engage with youth, this is the guy. Obed does
Obed.
such amazing work, like Obed is like, through his artwork and various other, talents that he has, engaging youth is his, bread and butter, and he does it so well. So thank you for sharing that.
That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Obed. Anybody else quickly? Otherwise, we'll just quickly move on. Again, that's something that we thought we'll just introduce from last week, and it always helps to take an action. And I think we all have to, if we held ourselves accountable, we just do that. I think it's more about just taking an action and just having, so whatever that action could be, I think it always helps to reflect on it, right? So, but yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So again, now before we hear, and next section is now we'll introduce quickly our guest. But before we hear from our guest, I just want to briefly anchor about today's theme, right? So as many of us have been taught to lead by focusing on what's missing, right? So we usually always focus on what's wrong, what's missing, and what's need fixing, and what's we're not doing well. So I think we usually focus on that, what's missing, what's wrong, what's not working well, and that. So I think that's over time the way of leading. That's just how way of leading can create self-doubt, pressure, and reactivity, and that's both in ourselves and in people around us, right? So I think that's the theme of our today's session is to not to focus on what's wrong, but to focus on strength. And with that, I would like to quickly introduce our guest for today's session. We are honored to be joined today by Elijah Buol OAM. He's the CEO of the Asylum Seekers Centre. So Elijah's leadership has been deeply shaped by lived experience, including time spent in a refugee camp and arriving in Australia as a young person. Elijah is the CEO of Asylum Seeker Centre and nationally respected advocate and community leader. Arriving in Australia in 2002 as an accomplished miner after years in Ugandan refugee camp, his lived experience shapes his commitment to justice, compassion, and social change. Eliza's advocacy helped end the incarceration, oh wow, of children in adult prisons, wow, in Queensland. He has received numerous honors, including the Medal of the Order of Australia and Queensland Local Hero. Eliza serves in senior leadership roles in ECCQ and FECCA and believes deeply in the collective power of humanity to create lasting positive change. Eliza, thank you for being here with us today. We are really grateful for your time and presence. So thank you. So with that, I'll pass it on to Om to start the conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. What a lovely introduction there, and how fitting we have a guest today. Knowing you about your strengths and moving from what's wrong to what's strong, because those of us, we sort of spend life in refugee camps or being refugees. Like, if we focus on the needs and problems, we will be overwhelmed and gone by now. So we had to really focus on whatever little we had. And I think that's Elijah really embodies that. And secondly, like, having been a refugee myself, sometimes, like, we think that we are in the worst situation, we have gone through the worst situation. And you know Elijah always helped me put those things in perspective. I don't know how long I've heard about Elijah lots, and but I think the first time we met was at a conference in Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So since then, I've been sort of reflecting on my own time as a refugee, and I think, oh, uh, I start smiling because, hey, this guy has done, you know, despite going through all that hardship, and you've gone through this. So, it really helps, people put things in perspective, and you that a lot, for me especially. So, Thank you for being here today. Now,
Thank you for having me.
talking about having the conversation today, uh, firstly, I was reflecting on things, and I read somewhere that you cannot go let a crisis go to waste. And I think, given what we have gone through, having grown up in a refugee camp, lived as a refugee, that was a crisis. And I think we cannot let that go to waste. So, Elijah, tell us, what your lived experience to that, yes, when we're living through that, it's not pretty, but then, you have lived through it and you've got all that experience. Based on that, what learnings can you bring from that and use it in your leadership now? What learnings can you take from that, lived experience to lead how you lead today?
Yeah, thank you very much, OMS, for the opportunity and actually the initiative of strength-based leadership. That's something I always, remind people that every human has its strengths. And I think it's important we focus our energy on that and to empower people, because that's the only way we can empower. But also, I just would like to also thank you, Sarah, for the great facilitation, and to all of you who have turned up to to listen and have a conversation together. As many of you, we all came from somewhere, and and it's important to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, of which we gather, and pay our respect to elders, both past, present, and emerging. To your question, look,
Yeah,
as you all know, my history has always been, begin with war. I'm part of that generation who was born in Sudan and now South Sudan after the separation in 2011. And I'm part of that generation born into war. And as a result of war, many of my generation lost their childhood. And possibly because through the war, when you are displaced, there's a lot of things you may not do as a child. And some of us lost their parent. And that's how I find myself to be in refugees camp in Uganda. I spent 7 years there. But I think what is really life was not easy, was difficult. But I learned the most enduring strength that I carry today in my leadership is the strength to discover and turn those challenges into your resources. And that is, turn them into your strengths that you can rely on. Because I always believe, you know, many people, including you, that we always face, during our time in refugees camp or in displacement, we find ourselves in between two walls of hope and hopelessness. And it's up to us to choose which wall do we need to face and tackle and lean on.
yeah,
And to me, it was about saying, look, life throw a lot of rock at us, but it's up to us to really challenge ourselves and turn those into our strengths, because the future that we want to aspire with hope is that future where we need to turn our strengths. So one of the concepts that I learned through my journey was the concept of resilience. Resilience sometimes is very silent, but
yeah,
it is also a way of life whereby we need to really learn and adapt and share our little life experience, and to rely on the community as well, because sometimes tell people, you know you are asked for support and there will be great people there to help you. But I saw people that feel with, finding way of finding and supporting each other. And as someone who really fundamentally believe in a collective humanity for community, is that it taught me the fundamental leadership of today, that we need to take responsibilities of the need of others. And for me, that's where really my strengths lie. And so arrived here as a teenager, there were a lot of challenges navigating the system, the cultural
mm,
expectation, and of course, we still have people these days still, struggling in that thought. But also, it taught me adaptability, humility, but also deep empathy for anyone who is trying to rebuild their life in an unfamiliar space. And that's how I end up doing the work I do all the time to make sure that the approach I do is about to rebuild people's lives, not to punish or pull people down. It's about building people and hold their hand and be that voice for them and work alongside them. And I think that's something that a strength we need to really to have. And for me, it's not about the past. The past of the past does not determine the destination for the future, but it's more about what do we learn from that. And to me, that's how I find my strengths. I find my strength in the hope that
Yeah.
everyone has potential, and that potential
Mm,
has to be embraced with the strengths. And strength
mm,
leadership always uplift people, and that's really what strength leadership, strength-based leadership should be about.
mm. Thank you. That's really sets the scene for our conversation. And given we are in a country where there are a lot of resources, and you know the government does support the system, etc. But uh, again, one of the challenges I find in systems, like settlement or social services, uh, we often focus on what people lack or what they need, or let's do a need analysis. And then this cycle sort of it's an unwinnable cycle, because we start focusing on needs, and then how do we solve, address those needs, etc., and then we completely move away from the strengths. So from your experience, Elijah, what shifts for individuals, communities, or organizations when we start by recognizing people's strengths instead?
Yeah, look, one of the things that really we need to understand and be mindful of, when we support people who are really being affected or their hope has been, affected in their journeys of settlement or the journeys of displacement, is that those people have a strength. They just need someone
Mm,
to restore that hope, and also build that dignity that they lost. Because sometimes we lost our self-confidence along those journeys, but it's more about how do we restore that in people. And I think a lot of people who have, survived displacement, through wars, they have a strength. We just need to tap
mm,
those resources. And for services, it's important that we work alongside those people. It's more about how do we work together with those people rather than saying, "Oh, I'll solve this problem for you." They have a
mm,
strength. They have ability. They have understanding of how they need to be responded to. And what I always vocal more is more about us being intentional in our empowering those people, in terms of sharing those stories with respect. Give them a space where they can actually share the stories and the journeys and how those journeys need to be supported, but also drawing from these strengths. It's a very
mm,
critical part that services fail to understand, where they become, people become dependent and relying on them because they have not managed to work together collectively in a journey. And for me, it's more about how do I bring the best out of that person? And, one of my first job was a youth worker. And the question that I always ask young people is, how do we, what strength do they have? And even if they, have suicidal ideations and they want to, you need to turn that into a different way. And then I'll give you an example. I worked with
mm,
a young lady many years ago, and
mm,
she's suicidal, she does self-harm. And one day I asked her what is going on. And she shared with me some horrific thing that happened to her. She was abused, sexual abuse by people who close to her parents. She's been, denied justice, by her parents, and they couldn't believe her story. So she she was abused in the church. So she has distrust. She reported to the police. The police did nothing. So she distrusts
mm,
everything about life. And what only thing she got was to kill herself. And I told her, I said,
mm,
look, if you were to write a book and someone read it, don't you think this will change someone the perception about this thing? And she's like, oh, what does that mean? And I said, look, all these things you told me, if you put them into book, I think then
mm,
yourself
I think we can read it and we can create awareness to the society.
Mm.
No, I said, no one ever told me to put it in book. And I say, here, take the diary here, write everything that come into your mind whenever you want to take, cut yourself or overdose yourself. But it's about how do we turn that, deficit side of people experience to positive and
Mm.
encourage them along that journey. And I think that's what the system, that's what the services, including asylum seekers, one of the things I'm very focused on is to
Mm.
make sure the voices of people seeking asylum is paramount on how they are supported, but also
Mm.
histories are shared with dignity to make sure they build and they share the narrative on how the histories need to be told. And that's
Mm.
very critical to us as services. But again, every human being has aspiration, and you just need to make sure we hold their hand alongside that, and that aspiration will be realized. And many people ask me, how did you manage to be where you are? It's because people have hope. Someone just need to tap into that opportunity and
Mm.
activate that.
Wow, Elijah, like this is why I feel like, when we have a team discussion, like you said, like why we need to do this, and we get excited because even if you can change one person's life, and what you just said, like, I have goosebumps, and I have tears in my eyes because you could have led this person, referred this person to a service, another service, another service, and she would be institutionalized and on the medication, etc. But now giving, like, people sometimes don't need charity, they need just inspiration. Now what you have done is, instead of giving charity, you have given an inspiration. And for her to plant that seed, like, you're not building a you know structure or a monument, you're planting a tree there, planting something in her mind that, hey, she can reach something and she can change one person's life. Then people get hope to do something, because like somebody at a wanting to suicide, and but next moment she has heard that she could one day be an author, write a book. That's amazing. So I think this is where the power of role of services are so critical, and the way we train our service providers, the way we train and develop our workers is very, very critical, because normal process for this person would have been referred to another service.
Mm.
And we have seen this over and over again, because you get to refer to somebody else, then, oh, I've referred 10 people to your services, and I've my numbers are good. But then you are actually doing a disservice to a human being. So I think that's really powerful. Elijah, I just want to again go a little deeper into that. And as the CEO of a center, you have to work within complex systems, and you have to work with government sometimes to demonstrate how bad the situation is, how desperate people are, and to get funding sometimes. So how do you hold on to a strength-based approach while still responding to very real challenges and pressures?
Mm. Thank you. And that's quite a million dollar, which if I get that into my services. But look, just to add on the last thing about that young girl, she actually managed to went on, and when she said, she told me, I don't know how to read or write because I dropped out of the year six. So I went and find a school, and we work out the paperwork. She graduated with certificate three, and then she also applied to uni, and I think it was the Southern Cross University accepted her, and we find her accommodation there to transition into that. And she graduated with a degree. So that idea, and she's a
Wow.
very strong advocate. And I think that's the power of services to empower people and individual to empower people where they are. Because our goal should be uplifting people from the crisis they're in. It's not to, push them down and say, stay there. That should be our aim.
Mm,
So to
yeah.
human. But to your question, the million-dollar question around the how do I navigate this complex system? I think
Mm,
for me, my advocacy has always been, very intentional and consistently on the issues of the people. And even the work I did with youth just criminal justice system in Queensland, it was the only state in Australia that used to put 17-year-old in adult prison. And I thought, this is not right. And their children, they can't vote, and then you criminalize them. So it was quite a very work that I was very intentionally invest my energy and advocacy work, but also very consistent to the message. And it took a while until 2016 when someone that, I trust took the role of Attorney General and say, Elijah, I've heard you enough. I think we need to do something. But that come to the system. So to me, I think first, we need to be close to the people histories. I think sometimes some of us will make noise to try to change the system when they actually don't highlight the needs of the people. And the work we should be doing is more about what I tell the rule of thumb for me and for the Asylum Seekers Centre staff here is always, does this help the needs of the client? Does it highlight the issues of the client? Is this something that we really can create impact in the society? Because you can't just wake out of blue and dance on the street and on certain things that may not impact the client. That's first thing, because we can create change by highlighting the real histories and experience of the people. The second part is really for people really to have that trauma, you also need to encourage them to be resourceful for their own narrative. And sometimes it's very powerful to include the voices of people in that narrative, in the advocacy. And I always, every media release I put out, whether in newspapers, it's always have the voices of people experiencing themselves speaking to that. And I think that can change the narrative, the perception, how the system treat, and that need to be grounded more in people and their challenges. The second part is also about building a team culture that honor their strengths. Because again, sometimes people can be considered as vulnerable, that they know nothing.
Yeah.
But really, they know, even if they don't know how to read or write, they have the strength in themselves. And that culture need to be embedded in how we see things from the advocacy point. And that really what guided me. So it reminded me that our role is not to fix, but also work alongside the people that we support and strongly advocate for the condition that allow their strengths to flourish in that situation. And that's really very critical for me. But also it's more about bringing the community together. I always tell people, when you do advocacy, know when to punch hard, but know when that punch can create a dialogue for conversation. And that's very important, because you either create a space where you will have no dialogue and conversation on these issues. Because as human, we need to listen, to move each other, to agree or disagree. But we need to have that conversation. So it's more about being intentional and realistic on how far can you punch and what conversation can you generate out of that punch. And that's really very important for me. So if I do advocacy for people seeking asylum, it's more about punching on the issues to create a conversation, create awareness in the community. Even if the policy doesn't change, it will inform the society. And I think that's the collective action to humanity. And I think it's what really, I think, people who work in the system, people who work with the system, and people who challenge the system should only be working toward that collective action for humanity. And I think that's really very important.
Thank you.
And just to add on that as well, is that, the work we do, and particularly in a person like me who does work with people seeking asylum, these are people who are considered by the community and maybe some section of the community or the government that, they're not needed here, they're not wanted. And I think sometimes you create enemies along the way. And that's where your strength comes in. You build that resilience to be able to have that hard conversation, but also to attract some people who may not agree with you on that, but you have to focus on the best ability of humanity and how we need to engage and continue and work alongside vulnerable people.
Hmm. Thank you. And just to pick on one or two things that you just said. One, I don't know if anybody noticed, Elijah said people seeking asylum. Now, we have heard about asylum seekers a lot. In the conversation, in the social sector, in the community sector, in the settlement sector, we have tried to change this, wordings. The words matter a lot. So, when you say asylum seekers, they are numbers. They are, just a set of, numbers, not even human being. We have to humanize that. So we call people seeking asylum. So in Australia, this is becoming more a norm now, and a lot of other countries are picking up because I was at a conference in Canada and said they were saying asylum seekers and said, "Oh, they're Aussies there; they'll get angry. Let's not say asylum seekers. We have to say people seeking asylum." So just a change of word humanizes things. So thank you for highlighting that. And also, Elijah, like you talked about, how people difficult to recognize their own strength. So for those of us in the room, as well as people who would listen to this, people who may not see their own strengths clearly, and especially those, their, journey has included hardship. What would you ask them to notice or honor about themselves?
Yeah, look, it's a very great question, and I think one thing that always prevent us to excel and achieve our aspiration is the fact that we sometimes don't discover our strengths. And I think that's
Mm,
really what overshadow the ability of people to thrive and rebuild their life.
mm, yeah.
And to me, it's more about inviting people to notice the quiet strength they have. One that is sometimes they overlook. It could be, something that someone is good at drawing. It could be someone is good at having conversation. It's just about having that trigger for people to realize this is the skill, this is my strength, this is something
Mm,
I can live on. But the fact that people are still there pushing along is a strength.
mm,
And I think we
mm,
just need to, what I tell people sometimes when they rock up to my door here, people seeking asylum, when they're worried about their business and all that, the fact that they have given it a go and put the best, information there, their situation, is a strength. They're able to recollect that and put it there.
mm,
So to me, it's more about first identify that quiet whisper in yourself.
mm,
And that quiet whisper could be something that, allowed you, whether it could be a friend,
mm,
someone you trust, and share that with them. But also the fact that many of us, we care about others. That's a strength because if you care about other people's well-being, like what you're doing now, you really created this initiative, strength-based leadership. It is about caring about the society. That is strength. So how do we make sure we use that in a way that people see themselves into that? But also human being, we need also to relate our life experience to each other. And I
mm,
always said, you know, my voice matters in terms of creating a narrative that reflects the experience of other person. So I'm not the only person with refugee life experience, but my
yes.
experience can relate to another refugees person. And I think that's also a great way, sharing histories in a way that is relatable is very important, particularly the LEAP experience. We talk about it in jargon or policies and papers, but sometimes putting it into practice is very
Mm,
critical. It's very important for me to be a CEO of Asylum Seekers Centre here. It will give hope to another person seeking asylum. It will give hope
mm,
to another refugee, and that's the practice there. The journey may be rough to arrive to the top ladder, but again, that's what it is. It's about building the strengths of people to thrive. And that's really very important. But also, strength is not always loud. So it will not come running and calling, I'm here. You have to make sure that quiet ability you have the skill you have, whether you interact with people well, whether you're extrovert or introvert, whatever the nature of character you have, is something that is quiet, it's not loud. And I think for us, it's something that we need to look with endurance, it's something that we need to look with kindness. We sometimes need to be
Mm,
kind to ourselves as well. Because sometimes when the world hits you hard, you got to bounce back and really he listen to those whispers and knock and dust yourself up to walk forward, because it's the only you who can discover who you are with the support of others alongside you. But also, I just want to let people know often is strength, you know, you can't do it alone. But that's
mm,
why we need the community. That's why we need people like journalists to be sharing positive stuff so people can hear that. Okay, instead of, the narrative. How do we challenge the narrative that we see every day? It's more about challenging by talking about the young man from Bhutan to Blacktown. Those things are very important to highlight so that people can see the narrative of, if you're on the street on Sunday and say, anti-migration rallies, then you will start thinking about the Elijahs and the of Blacktown. That's really very important to narrate those histories because it gives people strength. It gives people learning. It changes the perception. And I think for some of us who are here and who will be listening to this, look, you are already carrying more strength than you realize. And that's very important. The fact that we are here
mm,
talking about strength based, it means it's critical, it's very important for the journey. And for me, it's how the movement started. That's where the real change happened. That's where the change makers are born. And it's very critical for us to continue to identify those people with the strength, but not also to shut down people, because people will come down with you with unrealistic ideas, with unrealistic expectation. But sometimes as human beings, we have temptation to shut them down. So, oh no, dismiss that. You're not going to do it.
mm.
No, you will, because we just need to listen to them and find a way of how we can support them along that journey. Because at the end of the day, you have two choices. You try it out, you fail, or you succeed. And if you fail, you learn from it. And that's the strength itself.
Thank you, thank you. That's amazing. We could go on and on and talk about this, but thank you so much for sharing and sharing your wisdom and enlightening us. Uh, Again, thank you again for taking this role of CEO of Asylum Seeker Centre. I have a vested interest there. When Francis, the previous CEO, informed me that you are taking over, I was over the one. I was so excited. I was jumping, and when I met you after that, it was such an excitement. So you are a role model, and like yes, many of us and many people, when we mentor young people, we can say that, hey, if Elijah can do this, you can. So this is you are a powerful role model for everybody, and thank you for that. And as I said, I have a vested interest for the success of Asylum Seeker Center. I've been on the board of ASC for a long time in the past, and we look forward to the success of the organization through your leadership. And thank you very much. And I'll hand over back to Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Om. What a beautiful conversation it was. I mean, yeah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom or your lived experiences there, Eliza. That was so beautiful. And I was just in awe, like hearing all these stories. Like, I mean, a few things that, and I mean, everything that you said, the reasons why, I mean, we're creating this community group as well. And there's so much that I've learned as well from your experience today, right? I think like how you said, it's about sharing your experience. It's not about fixing always, I mean, whoever, like, whatever role you're carrying, it's not always about fixing. You're not responsible to fix things, but you got to, go alongside them and just in the journey, just be in the journey. And how you said it was the little story that you share about the young girl, how you inspired her to turn her, like, the challenges in her life in a positive way. So I think that's just amazing. So thank you again. So with that, we'll just move on to our next section, which is a breakout session. So we have a question. I'm just trying to get how many we got. We might just do open up the breakout room, I guess. Yes, that's okay. We've got 2 rooms there. So we're just going to move to a breakout room. In there, it's just about sharing. I'll just give you a question. The question, it's actually on the breakout room top,
And
the
Novi, can you
name
put
as
it in
well.
the chat as well?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That would be great. So the question is, what is one strength shaped by your life experience that you may have overlooked, and how you could use it more intentionally in your leadership or community role? So what is one strength of yours that you would have overlooked that you could use it more intentionally in your leadership or community role? So have a think about it and just have a little discussion in the group, and we'll come back and we'll do a quick reflection on it. Sounds good? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
I
I was
mean,
almost done.
oh, really? Okay. I mean, I gave a little warning, but hopefully
All
everyone,
right.
it
Yeah.
sounds like everyone had a really great conversation there. Anyone would like to do share your conversation? Quick one.
Patricia, you can start from us, so you we cut you
See,
off there.
There
good.
you go.
You're on mute, Patricia.
Yeah. Yes.
Lovely to see you.
Yeah, we had some very good conversations in our session about maybe Naresh started with discussing about his work as a medical doctor, and as how he could have been possibly looking at the area more of looking at the issues of mental health as being an area that he would have liked to have invested more time in, because he saw that as a particular area that he was himself very interested in, and how he could have invested more of his own understandings and learnings on that area in what he was doing in his work, which I think was a really important point that actually I think particularly what we're facing today in the world, strong mental health issues. So I think the rest really was great that you raised that. And then we just had briefly about Elijah mentioning about his interest, well, his love and passion and capabilities in sport from being very young, and not being able to actually spend as much time and invest in his sporting pursuits to be able to utilize that as a source of his own strength. And he had to sort of choose between following academic career and following other careers, and then having this still need to love in sport when he was excelling in sport from very young. So this is another area, and I think many of us could relate with the sport as well. Elijah, I'm a swimmer, so I miss that. And most of the countries I worked in, as I mentioned to you earlier, in conflicts, are countries that are landlocked. So I didn't live near the sea as I grew up in Bondi. And one of the things I miss is that whenever I was traveling, I was missing my swimming. I even tried to teach some Sudanese people when I was in Khartoum and Port Sudan how to swim, but it was very difficult to get to the sea.
It's difficult.
But my area that I was just starting to speak about was my love of music. I have an absolute passion for music, and it's something I've always and I'm trained as a pianist, and there's, but I couldn't take my piano to all these places where I was working. So it was one of the areas where I wanted desperately to play and even show people about how to play the piano. And one of the areas that I miss terribly now. So I often get the chance now, thank goodness, to be able to sit back and play on my piano.
Thank
And that
you.
is probably the value of music in terms
Yeah.
of being able to show the strengths in being able to use music as a creative
Yeah.
activity for people, particularly in being able to deal with particularly trauma, grief, loss, music has, for me,
Yeah,
a beautiful way to bring out the emotions.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you, Patricia, for sharing. Anyone else, like from the other group, who wants to lead and share what was discussed in the conversation?
Okay,
Well,
I just
I
want
know we've run over time, but yeah, go ahead.
to,
Sorry.
yeah, I just
Yes,
want to
Obed.
share something which I have done or experience.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, from if I talking about myself, I'm a art student, and I'm very passionate with art and culture. And back in Nepal in the refugee camp, I used to practice and work in the art field. And when I came here, uh, yeah, definitely there was a challenging for language. But even though I went to English class, and that's how eventually I get into the uni, and I study my contemporary arts over there. And after that, what I found is, especially in the social organization, like they talk about the different things. For example, mental health and the social activities and the recreational and different lot of things, right? But I haven't heard about the art and culture. Mostly they don't talk about. Okay, and that really hit my mind. Why we don't talk about the art and culture? Because what I believe is art and culture is the one of the identity for the people who are from different backgrounds. Okay, for example, if I don't have my art and culture, who am I? Right, I just say I'm Obed, but who is Obed?
Mm.
Okay, if I show my art and culture, and that's how people they uh, recognize me. Oh, this guy is from you know from this background. Okay, and that's how I felt and realized. And back in 2020, 2014, I started informally one small group. It's called Creative Journey Foundations, and eventually we work from there to since 2024. That it means like almost 10 years. And we officially register in Australia. And these days we mainly focus on art and culture, because we, yeah, as I mentioned, we have a lot of different social organizations, but there is no any organization who highly talk or give priority in the art and cultures. Even I work for migrant resource center in here, but they don't have any program for art and cultures, because our elderly people they desperately looking at those sort of things. And also what we believe and what I believe is that's the one string which really connect our elder people and the new generation who born over here. And that's what we are doing at the moment. We are running the dance classes, and we have around 40 students who born here, and they don't know much about Nepali language and cultures. Yeah, but yeah, that's how we share in our community and work for it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
that's great. Thanks, Obed. That's so true. I mean, it's a
Mm,
way of
mm,
your identity, like you said, right? And I think you got to keep the culture alive, and that's just one of the ways to keep that culture alive, no matter where you are, so that's great. It's great to see
Thank you.
what you're doing there. So thanks, Obed. So I guess in the interest of time, we'll just quickly move on, and I think we it's we've come to pretty much the end. So before we wrap it up, I'd like to, as a way of seeking feedback, I would like to, it would, really great if you can share one thing that you liked or appreciated about today's session. That would be really great if anyone could share anything, your feedback, what you liked
Either in
about
the
today's
chat
session,
or yeah, you can
either in
unmute and
chat.
share. Yeah.
Yes, that would be really great. What did you like about, or even if you didn't like anything, that's okay.
Yeah.
Be honest there. Say anything.
Just
Yes.
be honest, yes. I think it's just would help us
Yeah.
improve things or anything. I think that's the whole intention about this anyway. Yeah, so
This is my first attending this sort of session. I think just a few words from me. No, I
sure.
didn't speak much anyway. So I liked Elijah's story. He was an enthusiastic athlete. Now he's heading one of the big organizations. That's a
Mm,
very big achievement, and that's a really example to most people who come to Australia. As migrants or as people in asylum. And also, Obed was talking about the importance of art and culture in any community. I think that's very important. This just gives an idea on what the community is like. That speaks volumes, arts and culture. That was nice. And Patricia was talking about her passion for, playing piano. Unfortunately,
mm.
it's such a bulky item she couldn't carry to, areas. And even there, I don't think she would have the mood to play when people are just dying and, a lot of people getting killed there. So this
Yeah,
was really interesting stories. And thank you all for sharing this. It was a wonderful session for me.
thank you. Thanks, Dr. Norrish. Anyone else quickly? I know we've run over time. Hopefully it's okay. I would like to hear one more if that's okay. That's okay. Otherwise, like we always say, we have emails, we have different channels anyway. Would love to, I think that's also, we are also seeking as many feedbacks as possible. If not now, please do feel free to share it by means of emails or phone, text messages or whatever. We would really appreciate it. Would like to really hear how you finding this session. So thanks for that. So I think with that, we're just gonna wrap it up. So like we said, we do run these sessions every fortnightly. So we're gonna have another session with about next session. We'll share details about our next session in the coming days. So look out for that. So if you already haven't joined our Facebook community group, we'll share the link there. Novi, if you can, please do that. Do so. Please, we welcome you to join the group and share. I think that's a platform for our members to, yeah, share whatever you can. I think that's where you get all our information, the first-hand information about the live sessions, what's happening, and everything. That's a platform that we share. Yeah, so please do that and share it with your connections, your friends, families, colleagues. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, really. And have I missed? And with that, I think, did you want to share anything quickly, Om?
I think, yeah, you wrapped it up really well. And, I just want to, share that, like, again, reinforce why we have this strength-based leadership community group is because one, as you have seen, like we hear a lot, see a lot about what divides us. But we at this strong strength-based leadership community group, we believe in something more powerful. What unites us is far stronger than what divides us. So we focus on what unites us, what's common, what we love about Blacktown. And, like we all love clean, fair Blacktown. We love a fair, like, safe Blacktown. We want our kids to be running around. There's so much common in, what we want. And starting with that commonality, we can add the differences on top to add to the richness of who we are as a society. And secondly, today we discuss a lot about the strength-based approach. Why not focus on what we already have rather than what we don't have? So move from a need-based approach to a strength-based approach. And finally, yes, everybody's doing their best, but we cannot, the challenges today we face are multidimensional, they are complex, and we cannot do it alone. So the need for this kind of platform is to bring people together from different sectors, different communities, different disciplines. So it's all about moving from having this conversation to having a deeper connection, and then working together collaboratively to address the challenges and create a Australia that will aspire to. So uh, that's why we exist, and we want to invite you all to share and reach out to your own network to invite people to join this and broaden this conversation so that we can bring more people in the conversation, but also taking the next step of how do we develop leaders. So we will be talking about in the next few sessions, we will be coming up with concrete sort of programs to see how can we focus on developing leaders, for example, with leadership programs, and then also create that platform where opportunities for people to work together. So with, for example, if there's a art creativity group here forming through this across different communities, different disciplines, that would be fantastic. And we bring young people together from different backgrounds, different disciplines, different religion. So they work together to create an Australia that we all aspire to. So look out for further announcement. Please come online and join the conversation. Give your feedback and suggestion. It's your platform. It's our platform. So let's grow this, grow deeper,
together.
and create an Australia that we all aspire to. So thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, OM. So just before we say goodbye, one quick action that I want to leave you guys with, which is think about where in your life or leadership can you stop fixing what's wrong and start building from what's already strong. Yeah. So have a think, whatever phase in your life you're going through, whatever you're experiencing in your life, just think about what is it, that you can stop fixing wrong, you know, and then start building from what's already strong. And
There's
then
always a homework.
there's always
There's always a homework.
and then we'll reflect on next
Next
in our
time.
next session. So you got 2 weeks to work on it. I think that just enforces you to go, think about what action that you can take. I think it's always helps. That's the more intention. It's not about, it is a homework,
Thank
but
you.
in a good way to help you move forward.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank
And
you,
Eli,
everyone.
Thank
and
you.
Eliza has given a lot of
And
thoughts.
Dr. Norris, feel free to volunteer for our clinic here.
Okay.
Now the
You
time
on
is
a
up.
recruitment drive. Look at that.
Yeah, we need doctors pro bono these days.
Yes.
We'll talk about that outside.
Yes. Online.
Yeah.
Online.
Okay. All right.
That's
That's
Okay.
all we are about. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
Again.
enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of your week.
Bye.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.